Hey everyone, it's Sarah, the elder millennial.
And this is Bill, the infant boomer. Welcome to Strengths on Fire, the podcast for strengths enthusiasts who want to have fun while leveling up.
Get ready for a mix of powerful insights, unexpected stories, and plenty of laughs along the way. Hey Bill, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Sarah, let's light it up!
Oh my goodness, Mr. Bill Diffel, I am just so happy to actually be here with you today.
You can't. You don't know how happy I am to have you here today.
It was a bumpy road, was it not?
It was. We had a rough day today.
Ooh, wow.
Yes.
I've actually been having quite a great day. Day's been going swimmingly. I've had a lot of things to do, places to be. Everything was just bam, bam, bam. And then my technology blew up right in my face.
Right. And as an ex-CIOE person, right, I had a little trouble this morning, technically. Nothing I couldn't get through. I got through it. I figured it out. But I was banging my head. And then as we tried to get together, Sarah's technical world shut down today, people. It was a nuclear explosion. Once I got the phone call 10 minutes late from our prep time, I knew we were going to have a moment. So,
yes. I just like to say, I like to point out what could potentially be wrong. So if I don't sound as clear and crisp today, that's because the microphone is just a placeholder. I'm just doing this. I'm using my telephone to record. Like, I just feel like I have to shout out. And so no one is like, what is weird about this episode? This feels weird.
Yes.
Like, listen, I'm having problems, okay? Give me some of your empathy.
Yes. Doesn't your husband handle all your technical needs?
He does, and he's working. And I actually called him, and I'm like, he's like, why are you calling me? You're upstairs. I'm like, oh, I didn't know if you were in a work meeting, and I thought if you were busy, you wouldn't answer. But you are answering. Can you please come help me? And he came up, and he was basically like, babe, you're SOL, okay?
Can't do it. Can't deal with it.
He's like, you don't have enough time to fix this problem, and nothing is going to help you. I'm like, can I use your computer? He's like, no, I'm working.
I
guess my podcast doesn't trump his job.
I got a partial for our 4 listeners. I got a phone call that said I'm trying to hook up my 6-year-old's Chromebook.
It didn't work.
It did not. It clearly did not.
Parental controls on it that I don't know how to do.
That is so good. Sarah does not have the parental control down, so I did
come on here with a question today, and I think it's really important one. I think everyone here is going to be interested in it.
Oh.
So if you are an avid podcast listener, you know that podcasts start to create a name for the community that listens to their podcast, right? So I listen to a podcast called T-Boy. It's actually a finance podcast. I know, shocking. And they have the Besties and the Yetis. I listen to a podcast called The Toast. It's celebrity gossip. They're the Toasters. And so I have been thinking, what are the Strengths on Fire people? What should they be named? And I was at an event this week, and I ran into one of our fans, shout out Lizzie, and she said, I've been thinking about what you should call us, and I think you should call us the Arsonists.
Oh my gosh. That's done.
Like,
it's
girl,
done.
I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can.
I think we do it.
I love say that on the internet.
Sarah, I was going to say fire starters.
Oh, another good one. So I would be overjoyed if somebody walked up to me at a meeting and said, hey, I'm an arsonist. And
do you think we can do that? I don't know. I feel like it's a little like I'm going to get in trouble for it.
I don't know. I think fire starter's good too. I don't dislike that,
okay,
but I got to be honest.
Fire starters is good.
You should do a LinkedIn poll.
Oh.
This is
because
good.
The other 2 ideas I had were firecrackers. Oh, look it. My thing just did balloons.
If you're not watching us on YouTube, and if you're just listening, you need to go back and go to minute 350 and watch what Sarah's phone just did. So, sorry, go on. I cut you.
Anyways, so I was given this noodling. Who's to lie? I was using AI, and I was like, what are some other names we could have? And 2 that I liked were the firecrackers or the hot shots. Okay,
I like hot
those
shots.
2 did not land
I like
well.
hot shots.
No, I like hot shots. Hot shots is really good.
Hot
right?
shots are cool.
Firecrackers is okay. I like Firestarter better than Firecracker. Hot Shots is pretty fantastic. I'm still a fan of Arsonist. I'm like,
it's a little snarky. Yeah, I like it.
It has a little edge to it, a little snarky, right? Am I a deviant? Am I am I bringing out my deviant quality in this? I don't know. I'm a fan. Okay. So I did note on our podcast distribution format, I can put out a survey.
Oh, well, don't do that. I want to engage those LinkedIn friends.
Yeah, and speaking of
that's a great idea.
Questions we put out, we got a new comment today about how I would never eat a cold brat. I just want to point that out. It happened. We got a Spotify comment today. So
listen, it's not for everyone.
It's still coming in. It is.
Was it just the brat, or was it the temperature of the brat? So they'd eat a hot brat?
So I'm pretty positive he said cold brat. We had this argument. I'll eat a hot brat all day long. Give me a brat, give me some mustard, give me some dill. I love it, but when it's not like pizza. When it's cold, just throw it in the microwave for 15 seconds. Something about a cold brat I can't get behind. So,
well, and I think our guest is no brat no matter what. Am I wrong, Ty?
No, you're right. You're right. I said no brat. So
no brat.
Sorry, I don't know if that's being from Texas, because brats are less of a thing, or just I don't know.
I don't take personal offense to your brat affiliation.
But even like hot dogs, I'm sort of low on the hot dog thing, unless I'm at a ballpark, and it's just kind of part of the atmosphere.
Well, then it's a given.
You have to. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or it's the 4th of July.
It's another good one.
You want a hot dog real bad,
I will. I'll try one each, the hot dog and the hamburger on the 4th. But yeah, Ty, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. If I go to a game, we have a fantastic AAA team here in Reno that is one of the farm teams for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Love it.
So we will trick down there, and they have true footlongs, right? They call them a footlong, and you think, it's going to be 6 inches of hot. No, it's a commitment, right? There's a whole,
Wow, there are so many directions. I feel like I can right now.
Wow. We're going to go.
This episode is going to be rated explicit. My
I know.
arsonist, 6 inches. What are we talking about here?
This is about to be our first marked explicit on all program channels, right? People are going to be don't do that. Well, I think this leads us. We can't keep our now 6 listeners. By the way, we're doing.
Listen, there are more than 6. Stop downplaying this.
There are.
I love it. I gave you a review on Apple Podcasts.
I know.
At least 5 stars. Anyway.
Yes. So we should introduce our guest today, because we are entering a new realm in my mind, 2 ways today. Right? We look at our coaching strata as there are coaches, and then there are rock star coaches, and I would say we're starting right now introducing and we're entering the rock star coaching strata, right? Sarah, would you agree with that?
I mean, I definitely feel that, but I feel like you're also insulting our previous guest, so I would like to say, no, you're wrong. I mean, am I feeling a little like imposter syndrome here? Yes, I am. Here we
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
With our guest.
Yep.
Indeed,
yes.
I am. But the previous guests, I think, are also rock stars, Mr. Dimple.
They are.
Actually,
100%.
that's completely fair, especially when you look at the stats on some of our previous guests and the downloads. There's some rock stars previously. I completely agree with you. But this, I'm a little smitten. I'm a little ready. Plus, the second way that this is important, and I think this is just as important as the rock star status. Today is the best hair day on the podcast we've had. Right. When you look at
so much hair.
Oh, and it's so good. The hair is on point all the way. Again, if you're not on YouTube to check us out, you need to at least spin in and try it just once. And if you're going to do that, do it here, because there was even a little pre-show chatter email about hair's going to be on point today, and it has come out in droves.
Really? say Ty has me beat on the hair. I'm not gonna lie. I'm working on like a 6-day no wash situation, so I'm getting a little itchy, and I hate to admit it, but I must be honest. Things are not the best hair situation here. So
Sarah, I wouldn't know it.
Ty can shine.
It looks fantastic, and I love your color. It's so pretty.
Oh, thank you very much.
Excellent. So let's roll it out there. So we're gonna have today somebody that we hold in some pretty great esteem, right? Really excited to have Ty with us today. We've got Tyann Osborn on with us today. Ty is a wonderful coach that we've worked with and have paired with on a couple of events that we all go to, and we get together and get to laugh and have fun. And we just called her up, and I said, hey, we've got an opening on something that happened. And Ty said, I am going to go get a borrowed RV and a microphone, and I'm going to do this. Ty, did I hit that right?
1,000%, Bill. I said, I'm going to drive out into the middle of West Texas with real crappy internet, and I'm going to get a microphone that doesn't work and an RV with bad lighting, because I want to join the podcast that much.
Well, wow. You still showed me up technology-wise, so kudos.
Sarah, that's why I was like, it's fine. Bill was saying, we might have to reschedule. I'm like, no, for real. This makes me feel so much better.
I'm so scared of how today's technology, and yet look at the magic that's happening,
we
right?
Did it.
So
we did it. But this is real life. I mean, we go through it. Our clients go through it. And I mean, this is something I work with people all the time. They're like, well, how do I do virtuals if everything's not perfect? And I'm like, sunshine, when is it ever perfect? Like,
right.
It's just go with it.
It is so good. So we're gonna ask you a couple questions just to jump in here, but I want to share your top 10 with everybody before we do that.
Let's do it.
That way we as people are listening and they understand a bit of your story, they get to hear this from you, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to talk about Magnificence. That's about to come up.
Yes.
A little pre-show joke right there. You're going to need to explain that one, Ty.
Absolutely.
I'm not certain, but the top 10 for Ty: maximizer, significance, communication, learner, futuristic, positivity, input, arranger, self-assurance, and competition.
Right. I was sharing with Sarah earlier, Bill, that I could be a real asshat if I didn't keep these in check. That's what my profile says to me.
Wow. Touch on Magnificence. I'm curious how
gosh.
that.
Is that not the best? That's my
It's
word.
good.
I got it after Charlotte Blair, our mutual friend that we all love. She was saying woomander for her woo and command together, that she's the woomander. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm Magnificence. So here's why I love it. Don Clifton has it. And I'm like, if Don has it, who's the godfather of all this stuff, then I am totally going to claim it. But those two are driving forces in my life. You put them together and it's like, whew, that's strong. But I know there's like a little dumpster fire segment. They can also tip over into the dumpster pretty fast. So I gotta have a handle on it.
Sarah, Ty's clearly been listening to her. She's one of our 4 listeners early.
Yeah,
right?
She is definitely a seasoned vet in the Strengths on Fire universe. One of the top arsonists, if you will.
Arsonist, it's on. By the way, we'll put it out. If you want to make a comment on the pod about arsonist or firecracker or
hot shot,
let's narrow it down to arsonist or hot shot.
How's
that?
I'm gonna need a T-shirt.
Oh, it's coming. Oh, you are
swag.
on. You are in the T-shirt. So, Ty, talk to us for a minute about how'd you get here, right? What was the what was the journey, the previous career, the career that led to this? How did coaching find you, and how did you find coaching? Give us that shot.
All right, so let's go back. In my first job out of undergraduate, I was a programmer. I mean, this is old school. I was a COBOL programmer. That's how old school this is. Wow. And let me tell you, technically, I was totally adequate. That's about the as good as I can say. I was very adequate. But I would go in every Monday. I'm like, how is everybody's weekend? Hey! Nobody would talk to me. In fact, it was mostly foreign national men for whom English was not their first language who did not want to talk to me. They were like, hey, Ty, a little too much this, need a little more of this. And it was not great in terms of a career fit. So they started doing these things like, hey, will you go talk to the users? Hey, will you share with the customers how to use this? And I'm like, I will do anything to get out of this lab. Yes, I will. And so that started the journey that's really clear on me looking back. But at the time, I was like, I don't know, I'll just do whatever. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. And then I worked
in Ty, by the way, just to interrupt you for a second.
Yes.
I absolutely love that you and I came from an IT background.
Yes.
And we both thought, wow, looking around here, nobody needs this more than us, right? than the ITers in the world. So I did not know that about you, Ty, so I'm so excited I had to cut you off. So
you like me even more now, Bill, right?
I do. I've always loved Ty. I have that deep obsession with Ty, but now it's just, it's going more. All right, moving on.
So I eventually joined Dell in the late 90s. A lot of people did. And I went into the product group with all the engineers and they were like, you can talk to people. I'm like, yep, I can do that. But after the .com bubble burst, they went from hiring 1,000 people a week, which was just heady times, to like, hey, why don't we do a RIF, a reduction in force? That'd be great. And Ty's going to be the one to do that. And so imagine little Ty, I'm the cheerleader, positivity, communication, I'm bouncing around like Tigger. And suddenly my job is, I got to let everybody go. And this is a true story. I was, in fact, I'm writing a book and this is the opening story of the book, but I know, right? Saturday morning, I'm in the grocery store. I'm just pushing my cart, I'm in like grocery store zone, right? And I see this guy coming toward me and I have that moment of like, oh, crap, what's that guy's name? Do y'all ever do that? And you're like,
every day.
Right. And I'm like flipping through the index in my head about what's this guy's name. And he pushes his basket right up next to me and he looks me in the eye and he said, hey, Ty, do you remember me? Like the worst thing anyone can say, right? And I'm like, hey, buddy. It was the worst. And then he keeps looking me in the eye and says, my name's Brian and you fired me 3 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, this is traumatizing. I feel so scared.
Sarah, no, the worst. And he was 20-something Ty, like 50-something Ty would probably have more wisdom now, but 20-something Ty, I was totally caught off guard and I don't even know what I did, but I remember getting out to my car and just crying. And I thought, what energy am I putting in the world? And I don't want people to be sad when they see me. I want them to be happy. And later then finding out I've got significance so high, which is all about impact and legacy. And I call it the I'm awesome and I want you to know how awesome you are too strength. And together we're awesomer. So imagine just like going and doing that every day. It was such a mishmash. So that really was this epiphany moment. And then because I'm a big learner, I read all the time. Bill and I share Learner. I had come across Now Discover Your Strengths around that same time. And when I read it, I'm like, these are my people. I want to go to there. And so that started the journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
The way that first of all, we need the pre-orders for this book because I want to read the whole thing. I'm so intrigued. But what a great story to start it off with, because just looking at your strengths and hearing that story, absolutely. It's like, talk about just like soul sucking.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't really have the vocabulary and the language to put around, why is this such a problem for me? Other people are able to do this and seemingly be less affected. So like, what's my issue? And, but when I got the strengths language, I'm like, holy crap, that's like, the opposite of significance. So what can I do about this? And then as time went on and I grew in my career, I finally got to, when I was the head of this HR group and I finally had budget. So I brought Gallup in. I'm like, well, we're just going to do this upright. So I brought them in. As you can imagine, they were very expensive. And this was a long time ago, right? And they wanted 2 days. And I will just, since we have 6 listeners, I feel like we can keep this amongst us. I was watching the whole time. So I was participating, but I was watching. And my maximizer was like, I could do this better and cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Okay, keep going.
I love it.
And they did a great job. It was no knock on them. But I thought, okay, 2 days in a corporate environment, nobody has 2 days to give. This is bananas. And I thought they took 4 hours of content and stretched it into 16 hours and had costs to go along with it. I'm like, I can do this in 4. I can come in with a price point that's more accessible. And it really showed me, though, that there were people doing this full time. And I'm like, I love this. I love the content. I so resonate with it. I can do this better. And that's what I want to do. So this was long before a certification existed. Yeah. And so I put together my own content and was doing this, obviously, always attributed to Gallup. I'm not an IP thief, but I, put it together. So when they finally came out with a certification, I was like, hell, I've already been doing this. Yes, sign me up. So I was one of the, not the very first group that was certified, but I was among the first who got certified. And have been doing this since the beginning.
One of the things I think is really important to point out about your story, and I come from career coaching, from higher ed as a career coach, and I just want to pause on the fact that you saw them do it, and it was like this internal, like, burning sensation of like, yes, I can do it. And I think that if people are out there searching for something else, they just don't feel fulfilled in their role and they're looking, pay attention to those moments when you see someone doing something, even if it's just a piece of it, and you're like, I could do this better. I'm interested. I'm eager. Like, why do I want to be the one, whether it's, doing the Excel spreadsheet or whatever all the different careers are out there. Right. Your body is telling you something in those moments, right? Yes. Like whether you believe in a higher power or intuition, like 100%. We have moments when we're pushed toward things, and it's just important to like pay attention to that.
I encourage people, Sarah, to keep a note on your phone and just notice these attractions, because you can be reading or see something on TV or just, hear about it, and you're like, and I think what happens often is our intellectual brain kicks in and is like, yeah, but that's not for you. You don't have the right degree. I mean, just all the things that come in, right? So I'm like, put that mean girl voice aside and just, if you're attracted to something, you're attracted to something. You don't have to convince me of it. So when I saw it, everyone else sat in there and no one else became a strengths coach. I mean, it was a unique thing to me, right? So I encourage that. Like, if you're interested in left-handed puppetry, knock yourself out. That's great. Doesn't interest me, but I'm glad it interests you.
Wow. So Ty, can I look, we glossed right over this twice. Tell me about the book. What?
Oh my gosh.
Are you at a point where you can talk about the book, or do you?
I can talk about the book.
Or do we need to push it out of the way? Okay, hit me. I'm curious.
No. This everyone talks about like having a book is like having a baby, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But the more time gets in, I'm like, whew, this baby's been in there a long time. So it's like we're ready for that thing to come out. So it's called A Life Aligned, and basically the premise is, I do open with the grocery store story, but the premise is, I felt like I was the kid who always did everything right. And I put that in air quotes. Like I was the teacher's pet. I always got the best grades. I did the right stuff, took the right courses, did the right thing in college, got the big job. And still, I ended up in a place where I'm like, how did I get here doing something that is sucking the soul right out of me? And so it's really like, it's not about having the world's prettiest resume with all the 50-cent companies and words on there. It's not about that. So how do you figure that out earlier for yourself so you don't end up in the grocery store parking lot crying, wondering, well, what do I do now?
Wow. Sign me up. Like I said, I'm totally in.
I'm totally. So do we have a?
That's so sweet.
So do we have a proposed date that we can bug you for it? Or?
Yeah, it's with the developmental editor right now. We're hoping that the content's totally baked by the end of the year, and I am really hoping by the time we all see each other next summer that I've got something in my hands to be able to gift to y'all and sell to others.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm curious. Tell us about the evolution of your business.
Okay. Well, when I first started, obviously I was just in the, I can do this, I can do this better. And as a leader in HR, there's a lot of parts under that functional umbrella, just like IT. There's a lot of things under there, right? And I liked some of them and not the others. And, I'm like, I just want to do what I want to do. And okay. And like, that's fine with me. And the older I got, I'm like, yeah, just not interested in talking to ERISA attorneys about 401k compliance anymore. That's just not my thing. Although there's someone out there who's listening who's like, I'm writing that down on my list because I love me a good.
I
yeah.
love
And thank
401ks.
God for those people.
Yeah.
Thank God
Right?
for them.
It was just not my jam. And so I was really thinking about what's next for me. I've had this big corporate career, but since I started in a consulting field, I always loved the getting in and getting out. So this is the part for me. Some people, I mean, I was listening to your previous podcast and y'all were talking about really wanting to have these like in-depth engagements that go for years and not really entertaining kind of the one-off stuff. I'm like the opposite of that. And actually I had to get okay with that because that sounds like kind of a jerk thing to say. But I just had to realize where my energy was, and I love to be the catalyst and then let someone else continue with the deep relationships.
Ooh.
I don't have relator high. So I love that Bill does.
Yeah. So in listening to how you just said that, I hope everybody listening, our 8 listeners, I'm going to keep growing.
I love
our
it.
number is so good lately. So, that communication and positivity that you house, right? I hope everyone can hear how that communication and positivity comes through. I want you to touch on that lack of, I don't need the long-term engagement. How does that scratch the futuristic itch for you? Because you do have futuristic high. How do you see that?
I think for me, and actually I don't have relator or woo in my top 10. They're actually kind of in the mid-range, but they're side by side for me, which is interesting. So for me, I want to be the one who helps bring more people into the fold. Yeah. So if I can be on the front end, like, let me introduce you to it. Let me get you excited about this. And then here's a whole ton of resources and other people who can help you with your journey. I just want to be like on the forefront. And that's what I love right there.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware though, I don't want it to end with me. I just can't be the one who takes you through the rest of the journey.
I love that self-awareness that you have. And in a way, it makes sense. You have 5 influencing themes. It's your dominant domain. Yeah. So that, like, even though you don't have the woo, you've got maximizer, significance, communication, self-assurance, and competition. Yeah. So, I mean, you really are, to me, looking at your strengths, hearing your story, it's like you were made to do this work, to go in. And I know you do a lot of large events, too. Yeah. You can bring the energy, also the knowledge and authority, because you've got 3 strategic thinking themes. Right. So it's not just a surface level. You've got a deep well here of how people can do this and do it well. You're strategic about the work that you do. Yeah. And so I just think, like, it's so cool to hear your self-awareness embracing your absolute pinnacle of talent and just going out there and doing that. And then being able to, when people are like, hey, I love this kind of stuff, who can work with me more, connect them to the people who can do that.
Right. It's a great partnership. And this is something too, I think, as we've strengths journey, strengths coaches on our own journey have to figure out, where do you play in this space? I mean, the last time I talked to Jim Collison about this, he said there were something like 19,000 certified coaches now in the world. And, you might look at that and say, oh crap, the field is too crowded. Whereas I'm like, no, there's a lot of interest. Come on in. Like the water's great. Right. But I do think you have to figure out, where are you going to play? And then commit to that so that you don't end up just spread way too thin. And you're not going to love it all. There's going to be some things that you're like, that's not my jam. And even small teams, if it's too small or if there's hurts in the team, it's not good energy. And then I don't love that. And I'm like, okay, y'all don't need strengths. You need a different intervention so that we can get ready to have strengths. But this is something else going on. So I need, I feed off the energy in the room. And so again, it's that virtuous cycle. Like, the more I get, the more I give. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you also have number 10, competition. Yes. So if you're handing off, right, if you're making that exchange, how does competition play out in your world for you?
Competition's an interesting one, right? It's, okay, for me, a couple of things. It is number 10. So for me, it's like, I don't care about everything, but if I do care about it, I care. So there's a I have to care. Yeah. And then but Bill, I don't think we're in competition amongst ourselves. I think we're in community. And so for me, I feel like we are winning together. So I don't feel like I'm competing against someone else. I just feel like we're all winning.
Yeah. I wonder if that's
makes
like your maximizer in there, right? Of like,
Yeah.
hey, how do I make this the best possible experience? Well, I know
Right.
I don't want to be the one in there doing the day-to-day grind with this team.
Right.
So how can I maximize it? I come start them off great. I pass them off. So yeah, you can see how that competition maybe shifts in that perspective.
Yeah. So I just always, I try to be very inclusive and work with others with a real open hand, because there's way more work than any of us to be able to do it, you know? And so it's coming up with again, it's that maximizer. I love figuring out the best possible solution. Like, how could we make this even better, even cooler? And that's what I love. That gives me energy.
Well, and I just am so grateful that you share that, because I think for the coaches that are listening, it's good to hear established coaches who have really great businesses, right? Especially on the outside with social media. There's so many people I look at and I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. And then when you talk to people, sometimes you realize like not everything is always amazing, you know, and I think that sometimes we need to hear that, because social media and the comparison is like the thief of joy of that. And when I have actually been doing this myself. I've been in business for 7 years, but I've been full-time for 2. And I keep sort of pivoting. Bill knows I'm a pivoter.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking in similar lines as you, Ty, like a long-term coaching, it doesn't fill me up anymore. And I don't feel like I'm giving everything to them. So I've actually just yesterday was meeting with a different type of coach, talking about putting him on my bench, because I'm like, I have these people that come to me that want business coaching or this development coaching, and I feel when they ask me, I feel a pit in my stomach, because I'm like, ugh, I feel like I have to help them, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
So Sarah, just that right there, this is an exercise I do personally, and I give my clients to do it too. You can do this every quarter, every 6 months, whatever. I just do a red, yellow, green, where I list out all of my clients I've worked with during that period and the engagement. And I go through, if I love you and the work, that's an easy green. If I hate you and the work, that's an easy red. If I liked one but not the other, that's a yellow. And I do this, and then I'm like, okay, I'm cutting off the reds and the yellows. I'm either, fixing or I'm cutting. And I think some people, especially when you're in your own business, I've been doing this 12 years full time, my own business. There's a little bit of like, oh my God, if I cut business, well then how am I going to like pay the mortgage, right? It doesn't work that way. When you eliminate that, you open up space for the stuff you do want.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was so powerful. I mean, that little clip of what you just said, I'm going to go back and re-listen to it, and I think we've just helped a whole bucket load of coaches right there.
There's our power moment, right? We use ClickUp in our coaching side, in the coaching business, and Sarah and I use ClickUp to kind of stay in touch around this podcast too. We use red, yellow, green constantly. We don't do it yearly. We are actually upgrading our clients based on engagement and how those last sessions went, how they went through. I've given Sarah a little brief intro into that backside, since we've given her some access to it as another possible coaching tool. How do we keep doing that red, yellow, green? And how do we, because on a relationship side, I keep wanting to push people to green.
Of
right?
course you do. Yeah.
But I absolutely have some clients where you have ghosted me now for 8 weeks, and I've constantly tried to, hey, this is our next step, here's where we're going, and then 10 weeks in, you're like, hey, where are we at? Let's step back in, and you're like, you're a yellow. Right now you're a yellow, because we need to go to a certain space, and there are all sorts of little episodes or instances where clients will get into that yellow zone, and I want to push them towards, let's make sure we're communicating high, let's make sure we're setting on these levels, and I can't always do it, right? There is that failure. So we have let some of our yellows and definitely our reds go away, step back into other coaching areas or in with other coaches. I agree with that.
But you've said it in a previous podcast, Bill, that you realized you can't want it more than they do.
Yeah.
And, with those strong relationship themes, and you can probably see, oh, well, if we just got this out of the way, then you would totally be engaged, and it's great. And so, it's almost like I love you from a distance now. And when you're ready to re-engage, come back and hang out with me. But otherwise, like, Good luck to you.
It is so funny how often all of my coaching group uses that term because we use it all the time. And hey, why are we not knocking down this door? And you can't care more than they do, Bill. You just can't, right? So, and the other thing I heard from this last couple minutes of the podcast is your competition really only kicks in when it's a hair competition. That's how I saw it, right?
But even that, Bill, I'm looking at Sarah. I'm like, I love that. Okay, so here's Maximizer.
I love her hair. It's so good.
I want to be surrounded by people who are at the top of their game, and however that is. And so I don't see that as threatening. I see that as energizing and being super awesome. And the part that can go a little bit south on me if I'm not careful is if I don't feel like you're at the top of your game or that you're trying or growing, I'm like, I just don't have that much time for you.
Yeah.
And so I have to watch sort of that mental switch being flipped in my head, because sometimes I still need to engage with someone, on the journey, but I have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
Well, I love that because I always am thinking about the fact that, the people you surround yourself with are who you become like, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the 5 people you're closest
Jim Rohn,
to.
right there. Yep, absolutely.
Right? Then you'll be the next one. And so when you are constantly putting yourself in the arena with high performers, then you're constantly going to be a high performer. Yeah. But of course, yes, it's a slippery slope. But I just have to say the way that you articulate maximizer and significance, and I don't think we've gone deep into how those two work for you, but I know a lot of my clients get a little nervous talking about significance in particular.
Yes.
And they get hesitant to claim it.
Yep.
So I would love if you could go into your maximizer significance, what that looks like even more for us, and just continue to help people understand why these are such powerful strengths.
Well, and before you jump into that, Ty, I want to point out to our listeners that we actually got a bullet-by-bullet email from Ty prior to this with some highlights of our previous episodes, and then she hit us with the term Magnificence, and Sarah and I were like, okay, now, talk about great. Right. It's on. So
it's on.
Hit us. Hit us with it.
Okay. Sarah, same on significance. I can't tell you the number of times people get it. In fact, more often than not, there's, I like to call it strength shame. And you're like, I've had people say, don't put my name on the team grid. Can you not put my name tent up? And I'm always like, oh, pumpkin, tell me what's going on there. If I was coaching individually, I'm like, we would park there for quite some time. But I'm like, they're all strengths. It's why it's called the Strengths Finder, not the Weakness Finder. They're all strengths. But significance, if misunderstood, people see it as ego, or that it's the me show. Now, some people probably in my past would say, no, that tracks. It's the Ty show. But again, I know I'm awesome and I know you're awesome. I just need you to see it. And so for me, being in this space, honestly, that's my drive right there, is when I'm working with someone and I see that light go on in their eyes and they're like, I'm not broken. I'm not the bad performance feedback that I've been getting. I'm not human garbage. I'm like, no, you're amazing. You're wonderfully made. And we just got to uncover that. So that's where significance shows up for me, is that I need someone to kind of find their inner rock star, because it's there.
And I think that's so powerful because, again, there can be a little bit of, I am awesome. Like you said, yes, I want to be here doing important work, but I also want to see others, because it's an influencing theme.
Right. And so I was writing down, it's like the way I influence is I inspire others to act. And so, but I will tell you, managing someone with high significance, it is not going to be easy on you as a manager, because, the influencing themes, it's all about why. Why should I care? Why does this matter? And I was the kid who asked why all the time. And looking back, I see that, it was in action. And I had the very old school father who said, because I said so, that's why. Did anyone else have that old school dad? Yeah. Well, anyway, he was a piece of work. So you can imagine how frustrating that was for me as a kid. And I wasn't asking it to be annoying. I really was trying to figure out, how does this fit in? Why does this matter? And even as an employee, if I was being asked to do busy work, that I was checked right out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out, like, why do my colleagues seem to have no problem just being told what to do and then they just go off and do it? Like, why am I the troublemaker always?
Yeah.
But I was.
Yeah,
I
and you
hear
have
so
that
much learner. Yeah. Sarah and I go to the same spot,
Same.
right? We hear that learner in you as far as I was the one asking the question. I was the one that, I was the troublemaker by asking it, right? And I married a high input learner, and same thing. Every comment's a question. Everything is a build. Everything is and yeah.
Talk to my husband. He'll say, I didn't want to tell you because I knew you were going to have 50 questions about it that I don't have the answers to. I'm like, but I still want you to tell me.
Well, and another influencing theme that you have that we haven't touched on a ton is self-assurance. And so then I imagine little Ty in all of these situations
Little Ty had big hair.
having the confidence to be like, no, I think this is a good question.
100%. So little Ty with big hair, again, was born in the 70s, came of age in the 80s when big hair was a big thing. That was my decade. That was my decade. But having that self-assurance, I was like, no, I'm right. And so the thing with self-assurance is it's like a little goes a long way. It's like a spice in food, right? You got to be able to use it for good and not for evil. And so I realized, and I sometimes have to relearn this lesson, that just because you're right, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get what you want, or everyone's going to be like, oh my God, yes, let's all do it your way.
Yes.
I got to moderate that. I always use that volume dial analogy. So I'm like, if it's at a 10, maybe we need that at a 2.
Yeah.
Tone that down.
I often will tell people, and I would love to know if you feel this way, both of you, with both self-assurance and command, I'll tell people I feel like they sit on like the edge of a knife blade where they can go like one way, super good, powerful, so strong, the other way, ooh, that's when people start to say, wow, she's so intimidating, he's bossy, right? Like, it is this really delicate balance. And I think both command and self-assurance are really, really powerful strengths.
They are.
And they beg for leadership. And when weld in the right way, it just creates this powerhouse of a person.
Yeah.
But if not handled with very delicate hands,
you got to be careful.
You do.
Yeah. And it's, I have found too, having my high communication is really helpful with self-assurance because I want to be, and I try to articulate to people like, I don't have all the answers. We're doing this because I think this is the best way or the right way. But if you see something, you got to say something and not be intimidated by me.
Yeah.
And so people on my team, I have to like reinforce that concept, or else, I mean, I could go marching off a cliff and feel super great about it until I'm at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So I would echo that too, Sarah, in that I've both worked for a high self-assurance. We've talked about it on an earlier podcast, and I'm coaching a large group with the very top level that has some self-assurance as well. And part of it, speaking to what you just brought up, Ty, part of it's allowing everyone else to know what that looks like. It isn't just coaching the high self-assurance. It's coaching all of the relationship people around them going, well, do you know why that's coming out and why that's effective and how you can lean into it to make a dynamic partnership and how it will help get through these areas? Because if all you see is the high self-assurance and command falling off of the knife edge in a certain way, and you just shut down on that, right? Where is the power in it? And how can we raise the awareness of the people around to know all of the themes, not just these really influential ones, but all of them and how they play out for more people?
I think tempering it a little bit with the positivity helps. And I also
was just going to say that.
Yeah, which it helps. And I also think even having maximizers, so I really do, I'm always looking for better. So the first time someone says, hey, Ty, have you thought about, I love those kind of questions. That's not threatening to me. So I think helping people understand that. But yeah, you gotta have enough self-awareness. And my husband, one time we were talking about significance. He told me, he said, hey, your significance is showing. And at that, I loved that. I thought that was so cute. And, he said, do you really care? Is this really important? Or is this about you being right? Is it about your ego? And I was like, so I love when we have common language, we can use it to help each other be better. And it really diffuses some of that defensiveness. you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to telling someone like, wow, you're a real asshat today. That might throw up some defensive walls. But if you're like, you know, you might be coming on a little strong in this area, I'm like, oh, I can receive that.
Yes, that just it takes that, what I'm always been saying lately, it takes criticism and it turns it into recognition.
There you go.
Right? Because
That
to
is
say to
beautiful.
someone, hey, you're a real asshat today, it's criticism. And none of us respond well to
What
that.
are you
Like
supposed
that,
to do with that? That's
right.
just
Like,
yeah.
it
Be
just,
less
you know,
you.
it
Yeah.
tenses you up. But when you can say, I see your strength, hey, your significance, I
Right.
see it,
Right. Just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
dial it back.
Helpful.
And you said you like answering those questions, and we alluded to this a little earlier. So let's throw this one at you.
Let's do it.
Right? When we had all met, we had called this our Strengths Dumpster Fire podcast. So we always ask as part of our segment, and you've been so honest and relational about where it works and where it comes together. Hit us with a dumpster fire moment. Which of your themes do you feel like trips you up, gets you into that dumpster fire segment? What does that look like?
Y'all. Let's just start with Maximizer, shall we? Because it has a real picky quality to it, and it's never done. And so part of the definition probably says it's never satisfied, but it's because to me it could always be better, right? For other people, that can drive them bananas, and it can drive me bananas too. And at one point, my husband said, you know, if you just use the same deck in all of your training, you would like have far less angst when you're preparing for a client. And I'm like, I can't use the same deck. That doesn't feel good. They're special. I want them to feel special. He's like, they don't know it's the same deck. But I can't do it. I literally change it every time because I want it to best fit them. Right. So this true story, this happened. I was in the airport in Detroit. If anyone's ever been there, it's like long and linear. It's got all those moving sidewalks, right? So I'm on the moving sidewalk and I pass by this bookstore and it's got a little sandwich board out in front of it. And on the sandwich board, it said world's closest bookstore. And like I did a double take and that made me laugh so hard. And I thought, they're right. They are the world's closest bookstore to me, not the world's best. We don't have all the stuff. You're the closest. And I thought sometimes close is good enough. So that's my mental imagery for Maximizer.
Wow. I love that. Sometimes close is good enough.
Is good enough. So that's one where I have to really watch. And the second one, because I can't not look at something and want to make it better. Like it's just a commentary in my head. But that doesn't mean I don't think it's awesome. Right. And so one time a number of years ago, we were buying a new home and, you know, we were walking through it. And in my mind, I was just having this internal chatter about, I wonder why the builder did it this way. I would have done it that way. I wonder why it was a spec home. We couldn't pick any of the finishes. But then my youngest kid was listening. And a little while later, someone asked her about how's the new home going. And she repeated back my words. And it sounded like she was totally bagging on our new house. And I'm like, that's that parent moment. I'm like, she's saying my stuff. And I thought, in my head, it wasn't negative. I was just like making things better. And in her head, I was just a steady stream of complaints. And it was such an important moment for me to realize how it's not just how I intend things, it's how they're received.
Yeah. Wow, and the way I hear your communication in that too, because I also have high communication.
Right. We have a lot of words.
So it's just like, hey, whatever I'm thinking, I'm saying.
Yes.
Ooh, and it gets you into trouble sometimes. I feel that deep.
Sarah, it's like, you know, on TV, they have a 5-second delay. It's like sometimes we need a 5-second delay.
Yes.
You're like, because that went differently in my head than it shot out of my mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm always telling people, just because I say it doesn't mean I believe it.
Doesn't mean it's true or infallible.
I tried it out, and then I thought, you know what? Actually, I spent some more time with that. What I said is not
You're
true
like,
at
rewind
Gonna redo
that.
that.
So,
Gonna redo that. Right. Yeah.
But it's Maximizer's a powerful theme, and it can go dumpster fire if I'm not paying attention, and I never want people around me to think I'm criticizing them. You know, that's not it. Yeah.
And I just think the way you have one relationship building theme with that positivity, and I just love talking to you. You can hear it laced into everything you do, because I feel like there's this genuine like care for the people that you're influencing. in like wanting the best, right? It's this it's not necessarily optimism, but it is this like light, the shiny light amongst all of this, like, you know, the learner input, taking in the information, being strategic about what you're doing, and then those influencing themes having this powerful inspiration that you can give people. And even with the self-assurance and the significance and the competition that could come off a little like in people's face, you do it in such a positive way with that light. I always tell people, to me, positivity is a vibe. And you have this vibe that says, oh, no, I'm not trying to hurt you.
Right. And it's very genuine. I think sometimes part of the misinterpretation of those can be like, oh, well, you're kind of fake or you don't really mean it. I'm like, no, I genuinely mean all these things. I really want you to feel great. And, you know, I set an intention every time I go in to do a session. Like before I go in, I set it and I write it down. I'm like, how do I want people to feel as a result of our time together? And I want you to feel amazing and energized and like you can do anything. And so that really is what I'm trying to impart to others. Yeah,
I tend to use woo for that. Yeah. Right. I where people are like, are you fake? Do you really want
You're
me
not,
to be...
though. Like, Bill, I've known you for years, and you are so, you have this amazing attraction. People love being with you. You can just see it. You're like a flame, and little moths are just all around you, and it feels so good.
Well, thank you for that, Ty. I truly appreciate that. But I would tell you that there are times I certainly get in with some of my coaching groups where that question is, no, he can't be for real. Like he can't care. And then I'm over caring, you know, I can't care more than they do. And
maybe those are just not your people.
Sometimes I definitely have that moment. But, you know, Sarah's pointing out what she's hearing in you. You know what I keep hearing in you that I find really amazing is that Texas twang. I want to say, I think you're getting more and more comfortable on this podcast because it shows up a little more later and later. So
the more you point it out, the more I'll just start talking real slow and it'll come out and it'll be even more y'alls.
Oh, and I can't wait if we could just do a little bit of that, because I have this terrible thing that I do that if I hear an accent, I try to imitate it, but I'm terrible at accents, like atrocious. But I cannot help it, and I just have to. Everyone needs to know I'm going to a wedding next month in Mexico, but my friend is marrying someone who is British, and all of his family.
Yes.
And she was like, he does not like it when people try to imitate the accent, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make a lot of it.
This is bad.
We are gonna be in Mexico, and there's gonna be alcohol. There's gonna be all these British people, and I'm gonna be like, hello.
Okay, Sarah, think about we're doing an equation here. We're doing communication plus alcohol. I think equals a lot of fun, but I wonder if it's not a subconscious thing to make other people feel comfortable. Like I'm like you. And as humans, we want to be like others, right? So I think you're actually trying to do something good for humanity.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it probably just comes off like a crazy lady.
Intention
Anyways,
versus
y'all,
how it's
if
received.
we could get into the next segment.
Right, exactly. Well done.
A little crazy lady. I haven't been invited, but I'm going to Mexico. I got to watch this because this will be a dumpster fire.
I'm coming too.
I can't wait to see this one go. All right, we're gonna throw a unique question at you.
Let's do it.
We randomly pull these up. We throw them together. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Your strengths have been turned into emojis. Describe what each one looks like and when you used it in a text, or when you would use it in a text.
Have y'all ever seen that thing where you have to show what are your most frequently used emojis? You know, I think it's so telling. Like that should be a whole party theme. Okay, maximizer. It's obviously the diamond. I mean, it's it's seeking
polish
that in that perfection. Like it wants to be the best.
I like
it. To be the best. Okay, by the way, short aside story. Like back when the interwebs was new, not when Al Gore said he invented it, but like back when, we'll just say in the late 90s, I actually had a website and it was my take on things. And I did evaluations, like, dumb things, like which paper towel is the best, which aluminum foil, which steakhouse in Chicago. I mean, I had all these.
You were the original influencer?
I was, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had one person who remembers that website, but that's Maximizer, right? It's always looking for the best. And then if I can share that, maybe that's like that input, I can share it with you because then you can do it too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Max measure time. It's significance. I'm thinking of the little smiley face with the stars in its eyes. So again, it's the awesome thing.
It's so good. So
So
good.
cute, right? Okay, communication. I have to see what Sarah says. I'm saying it's the megaphone.
Yes, the megaphone.
Yeah.
Shout it
that
out.
That
Yep,
tracks
shout it
right
out.
there.
I love it.
Get
Yep.
it out there.
Have a lot of words, usually at a high
Love it.
volume. Okay, learner. Bill, which is yours? Mine's the stack of books.
Ooh, that's really good. I do like the stack of books. I would say that's solid. For me, the learner side of it is the smiley face that's doing this.
Oh, the thinker.
Oh.
Yeah. Like the sideways smile with the hand up doing
Yes.
because for me, because I want to be so sociable, for me to learn, I have to shut up. And that reminds me of I asked a question, now get out of the way, right? So let the person talk. So I think for me, the learner is that one if I'm creating it. Oh, yeah.
I have learned from you, Bill. I love your acronyms that you have. So Q-tip, I literally
Q-tip.
wrote it down.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like,
I wrote it down yesterday on something else I was doing, and I was like, okay, stop doing this. So
I'm always going to remember. I'm like, Bill's
and
Q-tip
for
right
those
there.
of you that don't know if this is your first one, Q-tip, the acronym stands for quit taking it personally, right? So I don't want somebody, especially for high relationship people, I want to take it personally, and you got to stop doing that. All right, go on, Tyann.
All right, futuristic. It's the crystal ball.
Ooh, I love that one.
That's good. That's good.
By the way,
Yeah.
I love futuristic. This has shown up for me since I have memories. And okay, do y'all remember the old Franklin planners?
Yeah.
Like everyone remember. So I had one back in '94, and that's when I really started, like officially, writing down my goals every year, tracking that to my actuals. I've done it every year, and I have them back to that year.
Nice.
So,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
super fun. And it's so charming when you go back and look at your goals then. I was in college then, and it was like, save $25 this month. And then I did it. And, later the number got
Check.
bigger. So
Right, yeah.
it's like,
Check.
boom,
I did it. Congratulations.
boom,
Right,
saving
yes.
$25.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Positivity is the hand clapping.
Yes.
I use that all the time.
Cheering.
Big cheer. Okay, input. Y'all tell me. I have the file folders for input.
Ooh.
So you're storing it away. You're taking the input and right.
I think that's literally how I think about it in my brain, that I have all these little file folders and I'm finding information.
Actually,
And I like that because you can give people a file, right? 'Cause
Right.
The input is all about giving the
That's
information.
just it. You have it and you want to impart it to
Yeah.
others.
So the book's for learner because you're just learning it, but
Taking
the
it in.
input is the file folders because you're like, oh, here's that
Right.
file.
This is why Sarah and I do a podcast together, because I was just about to say, and I know you like to open those file folders and let people absorb what's in them, right? Because inputs are so good at, I know it and I'm going to share it, right?
Right.
So
I was going to use a Rolodex, but I don't know if there's an emoji for a Rolodex, and then half of our listeners won't know what a Rolodex is, and then we'll get to talk about generations after that. So
I do know we have some Gen Zs that listen to this podcast.
love it. Love it. Oh, by the way, here's my input in action. So our strengths colleague, Dr. Megan Gerhardt, literally wrote the book called Gentelligence. Highly recommend it. Every generation has value.
love it. Love
There we
it.
go.
Love it.
Okay, arranger. I use the juggler.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. I like
I
the
will
juggler.
say, okay,
Yeah.
my husband tells me, he says, you have a lot of tabs open in your head. And I love that mental image. There just wasn't an emoji I could find that represented 50,000
Yes.
tabs open in my head at any given time. But there you go. Self-assurance, I used I was thinking about the strong arm. Because I was kind of like I got this. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. I will strong arm you into believing what I want you to believe. That's perfect. Yeah.
I will act like I know what I'm doing, and you will just believe it, even though I might be full of crap.
You're like, it's a strong arm, see?
I had this situation one time. I was traveling with some colleagues back when we all worked together, and we were making a connection through DFW, right? So in Dallas, it's a huge airport. And I just thought that the next flight was in Terminal C or whatever, so I leaned us all down to the plane train or whatever, and we're there. And we get to Terminal C and that's not where we need to be. And someone finally says, well, I heard it was, whatever. And I'm like, why didn't you say anything? They're like, well, you just seemed like you knew what you were doing. Literally leading us to the complete wrong place.
This is like such good self-assurance example. I just have to tell you.
Actually,
like, you just have the presence. People are like, I know she's wrong, but I
right, I'm just going to follow it.
her.
I'm like, don't.
It's a perfect influencer comment, right? It's a perfect, I use when I describe influencer often, it's, hey, you're the person that when the building's on fire, you're like, there's the door we're running through. And everybody goes, that is the door we're running through. Let's go. Me, it's number 2 for me. People with really low influencing, people are like, I don't know. We're going to try the roll up door over here. We're going to, right. You're just taking them to every single terminal at the airport to try and figure it. So, yeah.
And it's not like that's a good time at DFW either. So I would not recommend that as a way to kill time. So.
No.
Okay, last one, competition. I put a trophy in there.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I use the big trophy, like the Stanley Cup trophy, because it's not about me, it's about we winning. We're winning together.
Wow.
So not the like gold #1 medal, the trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, I will have the gold medal, but we will all have gold medals.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
Right. So I love that, though, the emojis. And that could be like a really fun activity with workshops and coaching.
You're really good. You're not wrong. And you just get like an A+ for that. You did an excellent job. You were
I put time into
prepared
that.
and ready.
She was all over this. She even asked me about learner. I'm like, oh man, I got to come up with something. No, I'm scared.
I love it. I love seeing points of connection. And one of my favorite things is to see, oh, yours shows up differently than mine. That's so cool,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And isn't that one of the most fun parts of strengths? I always am like, I love that no one is the same. I can't predict who someone's going to be. They're like a puzzle. And I love doing an introductory strength session with someone to be like, wait, you have discipline and adaptability. Tell me about this. Like, how does that work for you? Because clearly it does, but like, I don't understand.
Yes, and Jerry Seinfeld did a bit one time on, he was, in his show, he was dating Janine Garofalo, and he's like, I finally figured out why I liked her, because she's me. And so then he had this bit on, if we're all the same, though, one of us is redundant. Yeah. And so if we're all exactly the same, it's going to be really boring. Or a whole bunch of me's in a room. We were great at a bar. Like, we were having an awesome time. We're not going to get anything done.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
So I need that compliment.
But for the record, I would like to go to a bar with you. I really think you and I could light it up.
We would have a blast. Let's put that on our agenda for the next time we see each other.
I'm going.
And Bill, you're there too.
I am all in. We're the 3 of us in a bar. A, dumpster fire, so it fits today's theme. Right. First off. Second off, with the moths drawn to the flame, we're going to have all sorts of. It's going to happen. We're going to make. I think our next guaranteed time of all 3 of us in the same place is Denver. Is that correct? Is that
I will be there. I can't miss it. I'd have the worst FOMO ever, so I will be
Absolutely.
there.
I know. I called Sarah and I said, "You are going, right?" Because she's in Lincoln, so she gets to drive to the Omaha events, and then
the
I was
rest
like,
of us have to always fly to those.
Right.
So now you get to fly, Sarah.
Well, and I this is a short trip for me, so I'm excited on this one. And I called Sarah. I said, it'll be the first time we're together since we've started this podcast. I can't go without you. And she was like, why would you go without me? Of course I'm going. I'm all over it. So
I was like, you guys, I'm happy to fly. Like, Norm, do you think it's fun driving back and forth every day and missing out on all the social time at night?
That's true.
No,
at night, yeah.
I feel like someone gave me a gift by making it in a different location. Hallelujah, thank you, I will be there. And all of a sudden, the karaoke invites will not go dismissed. You know what I mean? Like, bring it to me. Let me show you who I am. Because I can put on a real professional face during the day, but that is not real.
I need to enlist another coach that's going to be there, because now not only has Ty invited us to go drinking, but Sarah is now saying, well, and I don't have to drive home. So everything is available and on the, we need chaperones. We're going to have to find some chaperones.
I know. And like with Lisa Cummings, she's all about the karaoke, and so is John Sexton. And I love these events so much. I went to the karaoke too.
this
I went
last
to one.
event. It was I went to one. I didn't sing, not because I didn't want to, but just we weren't there for a ton of time, and it looked like they were stacked up, but it was looked like everyone was having a blast.
Okay, Bill, I have an idea.
Hit me.
If we get to go to karaoke in June,
Yes.
you and I can get up and sing, I got friends in
Low
low
places. We'll do it as a duet. Oh, we're all over this. We can
I
do
love
this.
that.
And
We
we'll
can
point
do
at
this.
all of our friends.
Garth Brooks
Yep.
will be like, y'all should have done it originally. You know.
I mean, really.
I
really.
love this. I
And
And
love
we
this.
might have to just do some podcast recordings because I'm just so into the idea of recording live.
Right, like Jim is always back there in the corner
Yeah.
somewhere recording live, so y'all should do that too.
We should.
Spread
I think we
people.
bring some equipment. Well,
Yes.
now that Sarah's proven we can do it on our phone,
On our
I think
phone?
we just show up and.
Oh my gosh,
just-
do you mean this was a happy accident? My technology
Yes.
malfunction just helped us in the future?
Yes, it's very good. It's very good. We're very excited.
Do it on your phone or the kids' Chromebook, either one.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't know how to get into there. It's password protected.
That's right, it's protected.
Oh my gosh.
Parental controls.
Well, I think we've pretty much destroyed this particular episode. I do want to say too, Ty, you brought up a couple of people. I'm excited to tell you that that Charlotte will be on soon. She's coming up, and she will be a
Charlotte's
guest.
amazing. I love her so much.
And also, I know a very big personal favorite of yours. As of yesterday, we booked Lisa Cummings. So,
Oh my gosh.
she'll be on here
Yay.
in a little while too. So, when I said that stretch of the continuing stretch of rock star coaches,
Yeah.
those are some of the names we're bringing up. So. We're
like
excited to have all
next
of our
level.
coaches, and you are kicking off a really great string and moving through. So thank you for that. So
Hey, I just wanted to thank y'all because the content you put out, I mean, I know we're all having fun doing it, which is the best, right? It's a win-win. We can have fun and put out content. So I love what you're doing. Keep doing it because it really helps people understand this stuff even better.
gosh, that makes me feel. I know now. I feel fantastic. Ty, we've offered a co-hosting bib to somebody else. I think it's you now, right? I don't
love
know. I think we keep. Yeah. So
I know.
if you ever
Our
need-
roster and bench
Yeah.
is deep.
If you need poor audio quality from the middle of West Texas, I'm your girl. Count on me.
I'm telling you right now, if I spot a new podcast with Sarah and the broken down RV somewhere, I'll know I just got pushed out. Lack of hair. There will be a hair podcast
There
that
we
will be
go.
set up in the. I love it. All right.
I love it. So
Well,
fun.
Ty, thank you so much for coming today. We have absolutely loved having you. As always, a complete joy. We look so forward to seeing you in Denver and building on this and having some other discussions around the stuff we do and how we all work together. So thank you for today.
Thank you.
Yes,
It's been an
thanks so
honor.
much.
All right. And with that, we're going to sign off. We will catch you all on the next episode of Strengths on Fire.
Adios.
Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dipple, founder of Bill Dipple Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com, follow her on Instagram at sarahcoachcollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at billdipple.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at BillDippleCoach, or email him at bill@billdipple.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of Clifton Strengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.